He said, "We will marry, but I will never touch you." Yet one stormy night changed everything. Betrayal, secrets, and a love that could either save him or destroy everything he built. What happens next will shock you. Watch closely, because this is not just a story of wealth, it is a story of courage, trust, and the choices that define a life. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss our powerful, life-changing content. "We'll marry, but I'll never touch you," the millionaire said. Until one stormy night changed Everett. I remember the first time I saw her. The rain was falling in heavy sheets, drumming against the windows of my empty office. I had just lost another deal, my reputation in tatters, my confidence thinner than the worn leather of my chair. She stood there, soaked, a defiant spark in her eyes, offering a warmth that felt impossible in that cold, lonely world of contracts and numbers. I told her once, with pride masking fear, "We will marry, but I will never touch you." My heart was armored, my past littered with betrayal and broken trust. She did not flinch. She smiled, softly, as if she already knew the storms I could not yet see. Days bled into nights of toil. I worked endlessly, my hands raw, my mind frayed, chasing ambitions that felt heavier with each failure. She was there, silently guiding me. Her words were sharp and tender all at once, cutting through my doubts while stitching my resolve back together. She believed in me when I could not breathe belief into myself, that I watched her sacrifice too. The nights she waited awake while I wrestled with numbers, the meals she skipped, the dreams she shelved to anchor mine. Love, I realized, is not only passion. It is endurance. It is patience. It is bearing the weight of another soul with grace. Then came the betrayal that nearly broke me. A partner I trusted siphoned everything, leaving me penniless, exposed, and humiliated. I saw my empire collapse like glass, sharp edges cutting into my pride. I wanted to retreat, to disappear, but she would not allow it. She held my trembling hands, her gaze unwavering, and whispered, "You are stronger than this. We will rise." And rise we did, inch by painful inch. I rebuilt my ventures from the ground up, each success tasting sweeter for the struggle. Her love had been the quiet force beneath my storms, the reason I learned resilience, wisdom, and humility. One stormy night, when the winds rattled the city like our past trials, she took my hand, her fingers trembling, my own heart shattering with emotion. For the first time, I felt unguarded, alive, and utterly connected. In that moment, I understood, some promises are not to limit, but to protect until the world is ready to witness the full force of love. And yet, as the lightning illuminated her face, I knew a choice awaited, one that would test everything we had endured together. The storm rattled the windows, but inside, our hearts roared louder than thunder. I looked at her, the woman who had borne my failures as if they were her own, and wondered how I had ever survived without her. Every scar, every sleepless night, every lost opportunity had led to this fragile, trembling moment of truth. Her eyes held a question I could not yet answer. Could I finally let go of the fear that had bound me for decades? Could I trust love without conditions, without the armor I had built from years of betrayal? I took a step closer, each movement deliberate, as if the air itself resisted me. The scent of rain mixed with her perfume filled my senses, grounding me, unraveling the walls I had sworn would protect my heart forever. Her hand hovered near mine, hesitant yet patient. She had always known that trust cannot be commanded, it must be nurtured. Memories of our journey flashed through my mind, the nights she stayed awake whispering courage into my doubts, the meals she let go so I could focus on rebuilding, the gentle strength that lifted me when I wanted to crumble. I realized she had always been more than a partner. She was the pulse behind every heartbeat of my success. Yet, doubt clawed at me. The weight of promises unkept, mistakes repeated, and betrayals endured pressed heavily on my chest. Could I step forward without fear, without hesitation, and finally embrace the love I had denied for so long? The storm outside intensified, lightning splintering the sky, illuminating her face in stark, breathtaking clarity. I reached for her, slowly, trembling, not with hesitation, but with anticipation. And as our fingers brushed, a surge of emotion so powerful it threatened to consume me swept through every fiber of my being. I knew that in this instant, everything could change. Everything I had built, everything I had lost, and everything I had fought for could be transformed by a single choice. And yet, the air between us trembled with possibility, as if the world itself paused, waiting to see whether I would dare. The room was charged with silence, broken only by the rain hammering against the windows. Her eyes searched mine, steady, unwavering, and I felt my walls, every last one I had built, begin to crumble. It was as if the storm outside mirrored the storm inside me, fear, longing, regret, and hope all colliding. I remembered the nights I had spent alone, staring at ceilings while imagining a life with her, yet convincing myself it was impossible. I had built empires, yes, but I had never built courage. She had patiently given me time, showing me that love is not conquered by ambition, but by vulnerability. Her hand lingered near mine, and for a heartbeat, I allowed myself to imagine what it would mean to trust completely. Every failure, every betrayal, every sleepless night, she had carried them with me, not as a burden, but as a promise. She had believed in the man I could become long before I could see him myself. I stepped closer. The electricity in the air was no longer just from the storm, it was from us. I could feel it in my chest, in my hands, in the way my mind quieted around her presence. Every fear I had carried, every cautious word I had spoken, began to dissolve. And then a memory struck me, sharp as lightning, the day I had nearly walked away from her, afraid that my scars made me unworthy. She had let me go, yes, but she had never stopped waiting. She had never stopped believing. The moments stretched, infinite yet fleeting. I could feel my heart trembling against my ribs, a fragile thing demanding release. And I knew, deep down, that to hold back now would be a lifetime of regret. The storm raged louder. Lightning split the sky, illuminating her face, radiant and unyielding. Our fingers brushed again, closer this time, sending a jolt of certainty through me. The choice was mine, to retreat into fear or to step forward and embrace everything I had ever fought for. And as our eyes met, time seemed to pause, the city outside vanishing, leaving only the gravity of this single, shattering moment. I could feel destiny pressing against my chest, demanding a leap. And yet, before I could make it, a knock at the door shattered the fragile bubble of our world, abrupt and insistent, pulling us back to reality. The knock echoed again, louder this time, harsh against the quiet hum of the storm. I stepped back from her, my fingers still tingling from the brief touch, my heart hammering as though warning me. She tilted her head, a question in her gaze, and I realized the world outside had not paused for us. It was waiting, indifferent, for our next move. I opened the door. A man in a tailored suit, face unreadable, handed me an envelope. I felt the weight of it immediately, like lead pressing into my chest. Inside were the final papers, the ones that could undo everything I had rebuilt, erase every inch of progress we had clawed back from ruin. I wanted to tear them to shreds, to protect what was ours, but I knew the lore, the contracts, the truth. They did not bend to desire. She stepped beside me, her hand brushing mine for reassurance, and I felt a surge of courage I had never known. I am not alone in this, I whispered, more to myself than to her. Her eyes softened, fierce with quiet strength, and she squeezed my hand. You never were, Ishi said. We sat at the table, the envelope between us, the storm battering the windows as if testing our resolve. Each clause I read, each figure that threatened to undo years of labor, felt like a personal betrayal. I wanted to shout, to rage against the injustice, but her calm presence reminded me that fury alone could not win. We needed strategy, patience, and, above all, faith in one another. Hours passed. Rain blurred into night. She held my hand when exhaustion threatened to drag me under, whispering possibilities I had never dared to imagine. I realized then that true love is not the absence of fear, but the courage to move forward despite it. She was my anchor, my conscience, the fire that refused to be extinguished even when I thought I had no fight left. Finally, we devised a plan, bold, risky, yet honest. It would either restore everything or leave us with nothing, but for the first time, I felt unafraid. I looked at her, and I saw not just the woman who had transformed my life, but the partner who had made me believe in my own worth again. Thunder cracked outside, the storm reaching a fevered peak, and I knew that our next steps would define more than wealth, they would define our hearts. I swallowed hard, ready to face the outcome, when the lights flickered and the envelope trembled on the table, as though holding its own secret. And at that precise moment, I realized the storm had not yet passed. Inside or out, the envelope trembled on the table as if alive, echoing the storm outside and the turmoil inside me. I hesitated, my fingers hovering above it, knowing that opening it could either shatter us or set us free. Her hand brushed mine again, grounding me, reminding me that I was not facing this alone. Her calm presence was a quiet rebellion against the chaos of my mind. Finally, I opened it. Inside were the final settlement papers from the last company I had lost, figures I had thought irretrievable, documents that could either erase my comeback or cement it. A part of me wanted to throw them into the fire, to reject the world and its rules, but her eyes held me back. Control what you can, as she whispered, accept what you cannot, and fight with everything in between. I spent the night poring over every clause, every line. Her patience never wavered. She sat silently beside me, a steady flame in the storm's fury. Hours passed, rain streaking the windows, lightning illuminating her face as she occasionally pointed out details I might have overlooked. I realized then that my success was not mine alone. It was built on the love, wisdom, and sacrifice she had poured into me. By dawn, we had crafted a plan, bold, precise, and morally unassailable. It required confrontation, negotiation, and courage I had thought long buried. I looked at her then, her hair damp, her eyes bright with determination, and I understood the true meaning of partnership. It was not just sharing victories, it was facing the abyss together and refusing to let it consume you. The first call was mine. My voice was steady, though my heart raced. Each word, each counteroffer, was fueled by years of struggle, nights spent alone in doubt, and the unwavering faith she had given me. And slowly, the tide began to turn. The figures shifted in our favor, the contracts bending to the will of persistence and integrity. When it was finally done, I sank into my chair, exhausted yet exhilarated. She leaned over, her hand on my shoulder, and I realized something profound. The true measure of success is not wealth, but the strength to rise when everything seems lost, guided by those who refuse to let you fall. The storm outside began to wane, leaving a trembling calm. I looked at her, heart pounding, and knew that tonight was not just about victory. It was about trust, love, and the first real step toward a life we could build together. And yet, as the first light of morning touched the city, I heard it, a faint, unfamiliar knock at the door, carrying a message I had not anticipated, one that could change everything again. The knock at the door echoed through the quiet apartment, sharper than the storm that had passed. I froze, my hand lingering in hers, feeling a pulse of fear I had not known in months. She looked at me, steady, her eyes demanding that I face whatever came next. I nodded, swallowing hard, and moved toward the door. When I opened it, a courier stood there, soaking wet from the remnants of rain, holding a small package with no return address. I took it cautiously, feeling the weight of uncertainty pressing down on me. Inside was a single USB drive and a note in elegant handwriting. Some truths are hidden until you are ready. Are you ready to see yours? My heart thundered. I looked at her, and she met my gaze without fear, only quiet resolve. She had faced my darkest moments before. Together, we had rebuilt empires from ashes, yet this felt different. This was a challenge that reached beyond contracts and numbers, into the very foundation of everything I had fought to protect. I plugged in the drive. Files filled the screen. Videos, documents, emails, evidence of past partners, hidden betrayals, and schemes that I had not known existed. A cold sweat ran down my back. I realized the stakes were higher than I had imagined. Not just my wealth, not just my reputation, but the trust one had built, the integrity I had fought for, it all hung in the balance. She leaned closer, her hand brushing mine, and whispered, "Do not let fear guide you. See the truth, then choose how to act. Together, we can face anything." Her words were steady, but I could feel the tremor beneath them. She too understood the magnitude of what lay before us. Hours passed as we sifted through the files. Each revelation cut deeper than the last. Trusted allies who had conspired, investments quietly sabotaged, rivals ready to strike at the first sign of weakness. I felt the familiar surge of doubt and fear threatening to overwhelm me, yet her presence was like steel, holding me upright. She was the anchor, the compass, the reminder that no matter the storm, we could navigate it together. Finally, we paused, exhausted, surrounded by evidence of deceit and betrayal. I looked at her and saw not just the woman who had transformed my life, but the force that had made me stronger, wiser, unbreakable. And just as I reached to close the first file, the screen blinked with a message that made my blood run cold. "This is only the beginning." The words on the screen seemed to echo through the apartment, louder than the storm that had passed. "This is only the beginning." I felt a chill run through me, the weight of uncertainty pressing down like a physical force. She held my hand, her grip firm, steadying me, yet I could see the tension in her eyes. We both understood. The calm we had fought so hard to earn was fragile, temporary, a thin veil over chaos waiting to strike. I turned back to the files. Every document revealed a betrayal more intricate than the last. Partners I had trusted for years, allies I had once called friends, hidden agendas, secret meetings, embezzled funds. The depth of the deception made my chest tighten. I had built my empire from sweat and sleepless nights, yet now it felt like sand slipping through my fingers. She leaned over my shoulder, whispering softly, "Do not let anger blind you. Find the truth, then act with precision." Her voice was calm, but I knew the courage it took to speak such words in the face of uncertainty. It was her strength, her unwavering faith in me, that had saved me more times than I could count. Hours blurred. We traced emails, examined contracts, pieced together timelines that pointed to a single orchestrator behind the chaos. I realized that the challenge was no longer just financial, it was personal. It threatened everything. My reputation, our love, the very life we had begun to rebuild together. And then, a single email appeared in my inbox. No subject. No sender. Only a line of text that made my heart stop. "Meet me tonight, or lose everything you have fought for." The city lights flickered outside, shadows dancing across her face. I looked at her, searching for reassurance, and she nodded, her eyes filled with quiet determination. "We face this together, she said. Her words settled something deep in my chest, a reminder that no obstacle was insurmountable when we were united. I exhaled slowly, the tension in my shoulders easing slightly. Yet beneath the surface, a storm of uncertainty churned, because I knew that tonight's meeting would change everything. And as the night deepened, I felt the weight of choice pressing down. Step forward, or risk losing it all. The rain began again, softer this time, but its rhythm matched the pulse of my heart, uneasy, restless, demanding action. I reached for my coat, glancing at her one last time, knowing that the world outside would test us beyond anything we had faced before. The night was thick, the rain slicking the streets, reflecting neon signs like fractured mirrors. I adjusted my coat and stepped outside, her hand brushing my arm for strength. Every step toward the car felt heavy, as though the city itself was watching, waiting to see if I would falter. Her presence beside me was a quiet anchor, reminding me that I was not alone in facing what lay ahead. The drive was tense, headlights slicing through sheets of rain, my mind racing with possibilities. Who had orchestrated this? What could they want? I had rebuilt from nothing before, but this felt different, more personal, more dangerous, a test that went beyond money or reputation. I stole a glance at her. Her gaze was steady, fierce with a calm that I envied. She had always been the one to find clarity in chaos, to turn fear into focus. We arrived at the meeting place, an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Water pooled at my feet as we entered, echoing steps and whispered memories of battles fought in silence. The door creaked open, revealing a figure in shadow. I could not see their face, but I felt the weight of their intention pressing against my chest. A good evening, the voice said, smooth, measured, deliberate. I recognized it immediately, a former partner, someone I had trusted blindly, who had helped orchestrate the betrayals that nearly destroyed me. Anger and disbelief surged, but I suppressed it, focusing on her hand in mine, the warmth grounding me. Why are you here? I asked, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions. The figure smiled, a cold, calculating expression. You think you have won, they said, but this is only the opening move. Tonight, everything you have built could vanish in a heartbeat. I felt her squeeze my hand, a reminder of our shared victories, of nights spent rebuilding, of promises kept in silence. I'm ready, I whispered to her, and then to myself, we face this together. The figure stepped forward, and the light fell across their face, revealing a detail I had never anticipated, a secret that changed everything. I took a deep breath, heart pounding, knowing that the choice I made in the next moments would determine not only my future, but ours. And then, before I could speak, the warehouse doors slammed shut behind us, trapping us in shadows, light, and the tension of the unknown. Continue from where you stop, do the doors slam shut, echoing through the warehouse like the heartbeat of some living beast. I felt her hand tighten around mine, and I knew we were alone with whatever darkness had waited for us here. Shadows stretched along the walls, jagged and unforgiving, but her presence grounded me. I drew in a deep breath, steadying my pulse, preparing for what I knew would be more than words. The figure stepped closer, and the dim light revealed a face I had not expected, one that held both familiarity and menace. You should have stayed home, they said softly, almost pitying, but now that you are here, I will show you how fragile your empire really is. I wanted to lash out, to strike with fury, but I stopped myself. Years of rebuilding, of strategy, of learning to fight with intellect instead of instinct, had taught me that anger alone would destroy us. I glanced at her, and in her eyes, I found calm resolve. Her hand on my shoulder whispered courage without words. The figure circled us slowly, watching, calculating, like a predator testing its prey. You think your love shields you, they continued, but it blinds you. Every weakness you hide, every trust you give, I will exploit. I could feel the weight of their gaze, the years of betrayal, the countless hours I had spent clawing back from ruin, pressing down on me. But then I remembered her sacrifices, her patience, her unwavering belief in me when I could not believe in myself. I stepped forward, finally finding my voice. "You underestimate what we have built," I said, my words firm, resonating through the warehouse. "This is not just about contracts or money. It is about trust, resilience, and the choices we make when faced with betrayal." She leaned closer, murmuring, "We are stronger than you know." The figure laughed, a low, hollow sound, and gestured toward the table where a laptop rested, its screen glowing with damning evidence. "You cannot win," they said. "Everything you love will be gone by sunrise." I stared at the screen, then at her, and felt a surge of clarity. It was not the evidence, the threats, or the storm outside that would define us. It was our response, our unity, and the courage to act. I took a step closer to the table, hand brushing hers, and knew that the first move we made here would change everything. And as the first drop of sweat traced down my temple, I realized the stakes were higher than ever, and there was no turning back. The warehouse was silent, save for the faint hum of the laptop and our own breathing. I looked at her, her eyes steady, unwavering, and I realized then that every trial, every betrayal, every sleepless night had led to this moment, not for wealth, not for power, but for clarity, courage, and love. I pressed a few keys, exposing the orchestrator's lies and deceptions. Evidence of fraud, manipulation, and betrayal filled the screen, undeniable and complete. The figure before us froze, realizing that every secret they had relied upon had been illuminated by the truth. I felt no triumph in anger or vengeance, only calm, focused resolve. "This ends tonight," I said, my voice firm. "You cannot control what we have built. Trust and integrity are stronger than deceit." Her hand found mine, warm and steady, and I felt the weight of years lift. It was not wealth or contracts that had saved us. It was patience, resilience, and unwavering faith in each other. The figure left, defeated but still dangerous, and we watched them go, knowing the battle was over not with violence, but with wisdom and moral strength. Outside, the storm had passed, leaving the world drenched but renewed. I looked at her and smiled, understanding fully what she had always known. Love, courage, and partnership are the true foundations of success. We stepped outside together into the dawn, the first light illuminating the city, reflecting in the puddles like small promises kept. I held her hand, no longer fearful, no longer guarded. I had learned that success without trust and compassion is hollow, and that every hardship is an opportunity to grow stronger, not just in wealth, but in heart and spirit. And in that quiet morning, I understood the lesson I had carried unknowingly through every storm. True strength is not in avoiding struggle, but in facing it with courage, integrity, and those who believe in you when the world does not. We walked forward together, hearts aligned, ready for the life we had fought for, a life built not only on victory, but on love, wisdom, and the courage to rise, again and again. The end. Thank you for listening to this heartfelt story. If it moved you, share it, comment below, and remind someone, you are never alone.